Welcome to the Heart of Soul podcast, an exploration of who you are, what you are, and why you are, offering new ways to investigate age-old questions at the heart of you. Hi, it's Joseph, and thanks for listening to the Heart of Soul podcast. Joining me again today is special guest Eric Grace. In this episode, we somehow weave together psychodynamic analysis of children's television, especially Muppets, and anything containing Muppets. That's a funny phrase. Things containing Muppets. With what was supposed to be our main topic today, the opening of the third eye as a result of EBE work. We also go down a brief rabbit hole about the loss of meaningfulness in content related to Sagehood, which is in one way just as important as Cookie Monster's Spacer type. And I know what certainly you wanted to hear about today. This episode drops super early to podcast members to reward their support. To become a member for just $5 a month, you can go to content.clearandopen.com. In addition to wicked early releases like this, you get access to chat and commenting features and exclusive access to the live second Sunday discussions each month, where we get together in real time and talk about what you want to talk about. The next second Sunday is September 14th, 2025. Thanks so much for listening, or if you're on YouTube or Substack, for watching. So you join us already in progress, listeners. Eric and I were just spontaneously discussing the Enneagram types of Sesame Street characters. I think we should review what we came up with so far. We were talking about monsters, and long story why, I won't go into that, but we were talking about the skit where Cookie Monster was having to guess what was in a box with Kermit, and he kept guessing cookie, and Kermit kept saying there's no cookies, which is an old joke. I remember from when I was a kid, there was one where Cookie Monster was in a library, and he would say, I would like a book about trains and a box of cookies, please. And the library is like, this is a library, we don't have cookies. And he's like, okay, I'll have a book about cars and a box of cookies, please. And finally we don't have cookies. She screams and everybody goes, shh. So that's Cookie Monster's cookie projection.
Can you imagine what would happen to Cookie Monster if he did a DMED on cookies?
Well, that's an interesting question. Could we intuit what is he not feeling with his cookie medication? What's in there?
Maybe loneliness.
Oh, I think that's right. Yeah, because nobody loves cookies like he does.
Mm-hmm.
And he's quite different from everyone else. He's on his own track. It's about him and cookies. And he doesn't really connect with other people. Like Miss Piggy and Kermit have a connection. Gonzo and Kermit have a connection.
Yeah. Animal and his drums. Yeah.
Animal and the band, and who also would need to do a DMed, a heavily medicated character, is the Count. He's very he's siloed off. He's in a relational bubble. He doesn't connect with anyone. He just comes in and then counts shit.
He's got OCD, right? Like,
and so all the relationality for the Count has to be on his terms. Like, he shows up and it's like, hey, Count, what's going on? And he's like, let me count some shit. And it's like, well, can we talk? It just has to be about counting.
3 conversations.
So yeah, he's medicating. My intuition with the Count is it's depression. I think he's very sad because he gets so excited and feels good about counting, whereas it feels like Cookie Monster is a wee spacer, and he's just really lonely. He's filling the hole with cookies.
The served receipt, love onto cookies, right? Totally. Yeah, and Big Bird.
Oh, I forgot about Big Bird. Big Bird's Enneagram type. Wait, did we do Cookie Monster's Enneagram type?
Maybe he's a 9.
He could be a 9.
Cookie Monster.
9s tend to.
But he's pretty animated for a 9, though.
Yeah. He could be an 8 with a 9. He could be a wee 8.
A wee 8. Yeah, because he takes up a lot of space. Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Always looking for pleasure with cookies, though. That could be a 7.
He could be a 7. Yep.
8 with a 7 wing?
Sure. Or 7, 8. Yeah. But a wee spacer, I think.
Yeah.
Hidden in there. Otherwise, yeah. And then Big Bird. Well,
I think he's a 1. He's usually principled.
That's what I was going to say. He doesn't get upset easily. He's very principled, very even keeled.
quite relational, though. I would say Big Bird is a wee one.
Wee one, yeah.
Mm-hmm. I can't believe we've never done this
with maybe even a two wing then, right?
Yes.
And then there's Bert and Ernie too.
Hold on, yes. Oh, let's go there. Yeah, first, that's one of the most fascinating relationships. And Big Bird is a big caretaker, so
definitely
that fits
a lot
there
of caretaking
too.
going on. Mm-hmm.
Bert and Ernie. Oh well, Bert's for a me one.
Bert is a me one.
Controlling, tight.
Yeah.
Leaking rage all the time.
Yes.
And Ernie is a wee spacer for sure.
He's a 2, isn't he? He's got so much care to him, right?
He could be a me too.
So yeah, me too. Yep.
Or if he were not a 2, he'd have to be a wee spacer. He's very playful. He could be like a wee 7.
That's true. Yep.
He doesn't
got
like
that
boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And 7s and 1s often end up in relationship, and like they live together, right? This is this latent homosexual thing that has been going on for 35 years or whatever. Not that I'm judging that. It's just like they sleep in separate beds in the same room. What is that?
They're good friends.
They're good friends. They're such good friends, but they don't get along very well. They behave like an old married couple.
Codependence, right? Yeah,
that's right. They're good friends that sleep in the same room in different beds, and they don't get along terribly well. Bert is constantly upset with him.
Can you imagine if kids got a whole unpacking of the psychodynamics of what they were watching with Sesame Street? Like, as they were like, 9, 10, 11, like, okay, here's what's going on. Or like, was there no, I think I'm probably mixing with Mr. Rogers with the mailman.
Oh, yeah.
But,
Speedy delivery, that guy.
Yeah. And the one other character in Sesame Street is a Snuffleupagus, right?
I was just about to bring
Everyone
him up.
that no one can see, he's got to be a 9, right?
I was just going to say 9. Yep, right with you. Yeah. But eventually he did get seen.
He did. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which was a big deal. But yeah, the invisibility theme, classic 9. And low energy. 9s often carry some extra pounds. So he's big.
That lethargy, yeah.
Lethargy, yes.
Yeah, super cool. Oh, this has been fun.
Elmo? We haven't done...
Elmo! I can do my Elmo voice.
Hello, Joseph. How are you today?
Oh, my God.
I'm doing okay. Are we on a podcast together?
Oh, my God. Wow. Yeah.
I love Elmo. He's so good.
He was a later character.
Yeah.
He was not one of the original.
But he's often happy.
Oh, yeah. He can do sad, too.
He's very relational.
Yep. Very.
So I guess that's going to be putting him in a 2 with a 3 wing.
It's not terribly accomplished. Performance. If you want to if you put his shtick in an image category, I love that.
Yeah,
like you're saying, it's imagic how happy and laughing he is,
and he's always engaging. He's got a lot of different, skits that he does as a result of that, right? He's really come out.
I love that because it would either be like that, or you put him in like a 7 box that he's playful by nature. But I like 2 and 3 better because that really exposes this whole thing as imagic, which is really funny. Like he doesn't know who he is. He's using performance and relating as a cover for being himself.
Exactly. Oh, it's just funny to imagine. I mean, this goes back to our puppet conversation we had a long, long time ago.
Right.
But like to have puppets decompensate on air. We haven't, and there's also not many 5s that we've talked about on Sesame Street. Can you think of a 5?
No, I was just imagining someone saying to Elmo, we think the tickling thing is a medication for you, so nobody's going to tickle you anymore. It's
no more tickles. Oh my God! What will Elmo do?
That's what we're gonna find out. How does it feel when you're not getting tickled and laughing and playing with people? We need to get underneath that image.
Elmo feels very lonely.
5s.
I mean, the count could kind of be a 5 because it's about the information of counting.
Yes. Yeah. And he doesn't relate except through counting.
Mm-hmm.
And he's very bubbled off. Yeah, he could be a me spacer 5 with like a 4 wing because he's kind of flamboyant with a cape. That's his 4 expression. He's kind of like a goth 5.
And then there's Oscar the Grouch.
Oh my God, I would have forgot Oscar. Well, he leaks rage constantly.
Uh-huh.
So he's an 8 candidate.
Mm-hmm.
But he doesn't really dominate.
Well, maybe he's more 4-ish.
Yeah. Like a self-pres 4. The what do you call it? The James Dean archetypes. Kind of solo and sullen.
Yeah.
I like self-pres 4. A me self-pres 4.
And so he would lean more on the 5 then, because he's reclusive?
With a 5 wing, right? He doesn't want to admit how much he needs people, so he connects through this sullen, withdrawn.
Yeah.
I don't need anyone. Wait, wow. Sesame Street is really looking unhealthy now.
You know, the thing about puppetry is so often it's an extension of the unconscious of the individuals that are running the characters.
Yeah. Wow, that's hilarious. I think we hit the main ones there. And that's not even what we were here to talk about today.
No, it wasn't.
But now let's do Enneagram of like 10 other shows.
Well, something I want to also name just in the start, because last time we did a podcast, I felt a lot of heat in you. And this time, today on our meeting, I felt, and this is something that happens with me, I'm curious about with you, since doing this work, especially in the last year and a half, more people that I connect with when exchange is happening, it's like they are landing in me back here. So it's not just hitting here, it's actually going back into what feels more of my soulful entrance point. And they're landing back there, and it's not quite like a tickle, but it's contacting the back of my being, which I find really interesting. It's not just with one person, it's been with in many different instances. So when we first got on, I felt the sparkly in your eyes, and also this feeling behind me of getting illuminated in a really lovely way.
Interesting. Yeah, well, one of the things that was the tentative topic today was third eye stuff, and we'll see where that goes. But one of the ways my third eye works is I can usually see how other people's third eye works, especially if it works in a way that's really different than mine. And yours works really differently than mine, and that seems to be I would guess there's a Michaelite thing, there's a wholeness that the way your third eye works, it's like this
a whole gestaltic
it's
encounter.
It's not compartmentalized. It just the experience washes over you, and you get these really deep, they don't look like reads to me, they look like experiences that you're having.
Yeah. When I did a reading a long, long time ago with Vanessa, I remember Vanessa, she told me I was an original blueprinter. So what I think comes to me is the blueprints of people's, where the stage they're at or what they're encountering, and also their architecture too.
Yeah, like the base. Yeah, I was just going to say the architecture, the base structure of it. That's really kind of fundamental. You get this kind of fundamental thing it's at level of essence rather than expression. Yeah, it's interesting. Has it always been like that for you?
It's had different stages. I remember when I was doing EB 1.0 in the early 2000s, and when I'd be sitting with someone at a certain point, I would feel like my eyes would start to change, and then I would see not quite faces, but this morphing of the person, and feel new textures of them. So it was more of an external thing versus an internal recognition. And I felt like I was experiencing something deeper about them that wasn't just emotively focused, like a part to work through or something like that and work with. It was like the soulfulness of the person was speaking to me, and but it was more energetic, I guess would be, and outside of myself, because I could feel I was orienting, but it was on the outside versus feeling something register more on the inside. And now I feel like I have more room for it to come fully into me.
Yeah, right. Because it would be not held out by me spacer walls as
Yeah.
much. So as a Michaelite 9, your defenses were unable to shut down your intuition entirely.
Well, I mean, let's see. As far as it was completely shut down until I'd probably say 1920.
Then what
It
happened?
started to open. There was a mentor I met at the time that he was writing this book called About the Flow. So he really helped open my Taoist roots of being in touch with the flow, and he really invited me to explore psychological inquiry and synchronicity and the connections with people's to follow your destiny path, and that started a whole inquiry around what did I really want, and I started to feel more closer access to my heart, and then that led me to eventually move to Sedona, where I started having a lot of openings when I was in the atmosphere of Sedona and all the people I was meeting there. Yeah.
I'm just reminded of the first time I started to become aware of third eye stuff was around 19, I think, when 19 or 20. For a little while, I was studying jiu-jitsu and Aikido at the same time. And there would be, quote, meditation time in the Aikido class where I was in college, and it was just whatever, 5 minutes or something, but I'd never meditated before, and there was like no instruction. It was just about being still and whatever. But everything would turn black and white, and that was one of the things that was really like, what the hell is that? Like, I just sit here still for 90 seconds and everything turns black and white. That's weird. What is that? That was one of the things that got me curious. And then no shortage of LSD in college. Probably.
Oh, LSD was your friend.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I probably did about 50 hits in a few years, and that also got me curious because I thought everybody was having an experience like I was, and I don't think that was the case. It was different for me because it was opening third eye gifts that existed that I did not have access to, and it made me really curious. I wanted to experience reality like that without the drug, and I had an intuition that I could, or wanted to see if I could.
Something about the black and white I want to follow up on. In the last 2 years, both of the retreat last year, there was a whole constellation event that happened at the retreat. And then after that, I went back to my room and I had a whole wave of feeling like I was washed out in whiteness. So even when my eyes were open, everything was white. And when my eyes were closed, everything was white. And it felt like this stillful love, but also vast whiteout experience. And I've had waves of that since then. I had one last weekend too. And I'm curious, do you still have the black and white? Have you had that come online at different points after that? What's been your experience?
What has been my experience with that? I mean, I see it as Sagehood now, and I can make that happen if I want to. I haven't done that in a while, but that's like one of the shallower waters of Sagehood. It's sort of like, I would say, the isness level. It's like draining some of the downstream duality out of stuff. It's like, as if you move from duality to pre-duality, it's like for me, the first thing that happens is the color drains out on the way to how do I say this? It's 7 a.m. for me, so my words are still a little slow, which is usually good. Words and stuff, and words are duality too. It's like the movement from duality to pre-duality. For me, the first representation of that is the draining of color, which leads to this the grayness in Sagehood of like the because in Sagehood, it's sort of like one of the cool metaphors. I think I got this from Adyashanti, was that like a set of china on a table, like there's 8 saucers and 8 cups and 8 dishes, and they're all made out of the same stuff. And so there's the plate, the big plate, the dinner plate, the little plate, the cups and the saucers. They're all different on one level because they're different shapes, but they're all made of the same stuff. Mm-hmm. And as you move into pre-dual consciousness, you start to appreciate that it's all the same, and the differences,
it's like the senses, the different senses, they're all connected to the same
it's
faculties of mental filtration.
Right. The shape of the cup versus the plate is interesting and relevant on a dualistic level, but on a pre-dualistic level, there is no difference. And that's the case with everything dualistic. So as you move into the pre-dual perception of things, the meaningful differences in shapes and colors just disappears. I was actually talking with someone recently about this who asked, what was the question? I can't remember the question, but it was about, I could look it up, actually. Why not just do that? I'll just look it up. Oh, and it just appeared on the main screen, so I'm going to have to edit that out. Yeah, we're just doing it the way we do it today.
Cool, you can look it up.
Yeah. The question was... Oh, yeah. It was something about how was it for you when nothing seemed real? The first question was, they said, my upstream soul parts seem to be less real than what I experience here. My soul root is less real than all of this here. I'm not sure if I'm touching on some form of non-being. I said, sounds like you're moving from isness to notness stages. I said, isness makes everything feel more real in a way, notness the opposite. So there is in the isness phase of Sagehood, there's wow, that's what it is. It's not the concept. It's the concepts are dead. When you start to experience the realness underneath the concept, everything can be quite alive. But then as you go more into notness, that aliveness fades. It's like, oh, that's not a teacup. It is what it is. And then it becomes more alive. And then you go further down there, and then it becomes meaningless because it's just the same stuff, made of the same stuff as everything else on the table. And then that there's a period where people usually get stuck, what's called in Zen, stuck in emptiness, where the meaningfulness of duality drains away and everything gets really gray.
The Zen form of Nietzsche, all right?
yeah, the Zen nihilism or something, sure. Mm-hmm. And that people get stuck there, and that can be really a depressing time because it's calling for finding the meaningfulness in context rather than content.
Well, but the question there is if a person really did their emotive personhood work first, is that even a stage? And the way you relate to it, how would that be in contrast?
I would say, I guess it depends. I mean, I did 12 years of EBE before I did Sagehood in earnest, and I got stuck in emptiness for a while. There's a way in which I'm stuck in a bit of emptiness right now. So I don't think that personhood saves you from the loss of meaning in duality. But I wouldn't think so, because it's an interesting question. Yeah, I wouldn't think so. I don't think that the meaningfulness if meaningfulness in personhood duality was so persistent that when you did Sagehood, it was still there, then you wouldn't be able to process the terror of not being, because you wouldn't experience the meaningfulness and the aliveness of everything dying, which is what the terror of not being faces you with. It's like the death of you and everything else. So I don't think it would save you from that. But I don't know. We don't have a lot of data. It could just be
Still,
that was
you have to be determined on that with enough people going through that over time.
But about third eye, one of the things I wanted to share was, what's one difference that Eric and I have is my third eye was really shut down, at least as far as I could tell. I was very over-identified with my mind as a kid and beyond that. And I was trying to think in the last couple of days as in sort of preparation for this conversation, because I don't know, it was like 2 or 3 years into EBE, I think. Yeah, somewhere in there. I remember having a 3-day period or so where my third eye opened up in a way where I was seeing discarnate spirits like everywhere.
Remember that.
And that freaked me out. I was just, not like a ton, but I was moderately freaked out. It was really distracting. It was almost as if the discarnate spirits were as real as people. Not exactly, but like, and they didn't like look that way, but it was sort of like, it was sort of like you could say the discarnate spirits were like furniture and the people were like people. So the furniture was not as like animated as the people, but it was there and in the room and being like, whoa, there's like excuse me, it was just, and that was really wild. And to me, it was really confirming about the paradigm, because I arrived at that solely through personhood work.
Yeah. Wasn't like you were aiming to get there.
No, not at all. Not at all. And it was probably related to a demedication with a codependent relationship that I was in, because it happened, I think, within about a year after that. And that's the best I could put my finger on, because the woman I was with was a much denser soul than I was. And I was also medicating as a martial artist. I had a lot of densifying medications, things that made me denser than I was.
Mm-hmm.
I was very anti-spiritual in a lot of ways. I was very secularized. I was not a spiritual person at all. So I was into self-empowerment and very agnostic. And
that's pretty amazing just in itself, as far as, I don't think we've talked about that, or that you guys have talked about that as on the podcast in the past, about that you can have medications that actually densify you.
Yeah.
So that you don't access more of your essence. So you don't have to open up to that dimension you're being, because of the fear that's associated with that.
Yeah. And that's exactly what it was. I had some very strong anti-spirituality meds. So, what's that expression? The dam is equal to the height of the water. I had some very big no's to my spirituality in my protector structure, and there were a lot of layers of that, and there still are layers of that. I'm still working on that, because of the kind of thing that happened, where my third eye opened up and I couldn't control the experience, and that's exactly what my protectors fear the most. And so what happens with your fear? You get to have the experience and see that it's okay.
Yeah, you're still here. Yeah.
And that was one of the things go ahead, sorry.
I just wanted to circle back before we go too far from that. A moment in my life where I had an experience with a discarnate being in front of me, as if it was just as real as everyone else that was in that moment, was when my brother died. The day I learned of him, he showed up in front of me and he was talking with me, and it was literally like he was standing there. His shape and form was a little bit more luminescent, but his voice speaking to me and his shape and everything was exactly as it was. And other people around me, no one could see him, but it was so, I was so impacted by the exchange. It was so utterly real to me. Mm-hmm. And I think the grief and the breaking of his death opened me up another level to be able to access or see or experience that in that moment.
Yeah, that's amazing, and not uncommon for difficult or intense experiences to open up people's third eye. And our audience, I assume, certainly the people who are actively doing EBE, and probably listening, are going to be angel souls. And pretty much all angel souls have a pretty strong third eye, whether you've trained for it in a past life or not. But most angel souls have, if you've got more than more than 320 lives, I think, is most people who do EB have had at least that many lives. And if you've had that many lives, you've been around the block and you've done a shit ton of meditation, maybe had some awakenings, you've done your time in Hindu, India stuff, and like you've done the third eye training. And so that means it's in your soul field. Mm-hmm. And if it's not yet manifest, then your personhood work is going to bring that up, whether you like it or not. Especially if you don't, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think too, people can get hung up on having an idea that third eye means a certain thing, or it looks a certain way, or it's perceived a certain way. And it can be really quite unique in how it shows up for an individual in their experience of it. I mean, it can be covered over greatly, but then as it starts to come online, it can be helpful to have some feedback around that, being exploring that, and also how the protector relates to it or doesn't relate to it.
Yeah.
You know.
And while we're on this subject, one of the things I wanted to say, because this is my, what do you call that? I'm just going to say pulpit, podium,
platform,
soapbox, platform. Look at all the synonyms there for platform.
All the P's.
They all start with a P. This episode is brought to you by the number P and the letter 4. Wait, what? I didn't mean to do that. The number P and the letter 4. Somehow that makes sense in me right now. That sounds right. No, it doesn't sound right. It feels right. But notice the feeling is not true. The number 4 and the letter P. That feels slightly truer when I say it that way. But on this platform, one of the things I want to say was that I'm often seen as and judged as being overly mental. And people experience, I have a good vocabulary, I talk fast, or I make fine distinctions. What people don't understand about that is a lot of that is actually third eye. That's just how I'm wired. And I know that because before my third eye opened, I was different. It was like I was slower in some ways. I didn't make as fine distinctions. I did not have the metaphysical quote mind that I do. It's and I was thinking about this morning about my astrological chart, because if you know astrology, there's an explanation for this. The 9th house, which is higher learning, philosophy, spirituality, dharma. I have a Gemini stellium in the 9th house. I'm a Sun, Moon, Mercury, Saturn in Gemini in the 9th house. So
it's like a grand slam, huh? In astrology.
Yeah. It's rare. Some people even have a 5-planet stellium, which is really intense.
Yeah, I dated a woman named Jean who had 5 Sagittarius.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Wow.
A lot of Sag running in her.
Yeah. I would like to have a conversation with such a person. So for me, and Gemini is ruled by Mercury. And then, and I was born in Mercury retrograde. Interesting fact about me. And Mercury is also my dispositor. There's like 5 different houses that all go back to Mercury. So Mercury is this major thing for me. I have a soul level relationship with Mercury, and it's indistinguished from my spirituality being in the 9th house, all that stellium in the 9th house. So the more my spirituality embodies, the more my mind joins up with my spirit. And so it looks to people as mental, but it's really not. It's fueled by spirit, and I make connections. And the way I know it's not mind is because about half the time I don't know what I'm going to say until I say it. That's not the mind. And so ideas come to me. It doesn't feel like I'm thinking or I'm saying it. I don't experience myself as intelligent. I experience myself as like standing in a place where intelligence is, and it just comes through.
Being its mouthpiece. In a way.
And that wasn't the case before my third eye. Before I was whatever, 30, 31, whatever. I didn't experience it that way, and I wasn't as smart then. You know,
That makes me think of that little image that used to be in Stace's bathroom years and years ago as an old place, and they had a guy playing. It was like just an outline of a person that was playing a little clarinet or something, and it said "just listening," and it was like the background and the individual were all one thing, but there was an outline of the shape of the instrument and the person.
yeah.
Kind of like just listening, just allowing it to come through.
Yeah, when I was really mind mediated, I felt it as like, I'm thinking this is my idea, and that's like becoming less and less and less. It's as the more I as a noun sense of self disappear, the fear is always like, especially in Sagehood, it's like, well, if I disidentify from mind, I'll be stupid and dysfunctional and not know anything. But it turns out usually the opposite is true. And I've lost control of what comes through me. Sometimes that can get a little messy. But
Oops.
yeah, and that's just part of how it is, and you just clean it up afterwards. But I wanted to say something like that because it hurts that when people, because people have their projections. There's so much emphasis in our society about mind and intelligence and school and grades, and there's so many different kinds of intelligence, and the ninth house intelligence, which is like the domain of metaphysics and making connections and themes and context. I have serious gifts in those, but ask me to navigate through a forest or even a city, and you'll see how stupid I am in that domain. And I have no problem owning my disabilities in the domain of organization or spatial relationships. I've been playing guitar since I was 17, and I'm nowhere near memorizing a fretboard. That's too spatial relation-y. That's math, and I can do arithmetic just fine. But yeah, ask me what the fourth note is in the key of C sharp, and like, I might need a piece of paper or at least my fingers.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and put some tools in my hand, I will break the thing that I'm trying to fix. Like, that's not my skill set.
God.
So
when I have to fix things, I've worked very hard. I've owned 3 different houses, and you have to learn how to fix stuff or else you're going to go broke. And I see it as like an angel soul challenge. Like, anytime there's something to fix, like, it's a roll of the dice. Like, I might break it or I might fix it. There's like a 5 or 10% chance it goes how I think. And otherwise, it's going to be a journey where it's like, oh, I learned that you can't use paint thinner on this kind of plastic, like whatever.
Thankfully, there are people that know what they're doing, so you can always call in backup if you really need to.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's just it costs more.
Yeah. Like, I've got some rot in my deck that needs fixing, and I've not done that kind of work before, and so it weighs on me. Like, you gonna try this? Like, okay, well, what's the worst thing that can happen? I got to take a bunch of deck boards off from underneath and chisel away some stuff. What if it's not level? And so I've learned to be basically competent in that kind of stuff, but I almost always feel some anxiety that I'm gonna screw it up, because it's like, when I'm navigating it, I'm like, I'm lost on my way to finding my way. It's the same thing with handyman work. I once spent, in my 20s, 45 minutes underneath my car turning the oil filter the wrong way.
Yeah, something like that I don't even bother. It's like, because I know I will make damage on my vehicle, and just save me the time, save me the money, go to the.
But for me, it's like there's always a challenge. It's like, I want to prove that I can pull off being a human, and there's this like, there's people who are not very intelligent who do this kind of stuff every day. Surely I should be able to pull that off. Surely I should not be confused by right tight, left loose anymore, but I still am. So when I pull it off, it's like, I'm fucking genius. I'm a mirror. I managed to change this
goes wild.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like, magic for me is like, I built a little primitive shelf. When I built my more recently, I built a guillotine style door for my pig trap. And it didn't need to be perfectly square, but I challenged myself because it was a level of carpentry I hadn't done before. And I'm like, I'm going to make it perfectly square to see if I can. And I did. It was like, oh my God,
Success.
I've had a circular saw for 25 years. And, at age 51, I made something perfectly square. That's like made my year practically. Just the idea of, I still remember vividly, I'm going off a little bit, but I'll shut up in a moment. I still remember.
It leads to a question to ask our listeners that I will follow up with.
One more story here. I was having a bathroom remodeled a long time ago, and there were the two guys who were working on it. They were cutting trim, and I remember one guy was measuring and installing, the other guy was cutting, as you do, and they were just getting started, and the cutter said, "Do you want me to cut the line? Like, how are you measuring this? Should I cut the pencil line or not?" And the answer that the other guy gave was part of it. And I was like, okay, you're talking about cutting part of a pencil line? Wow, that's why I'm not a carpenter, because the accuracy to be able to cut part of a pencil line, like there's one side of the line, there's another side of the line, there's the line, and he's like, part of the line. Mm-hmm. The kerf of the saw is a 16th of an inch. How do you cut part of it? Like, that's... Yeah.
Very carefully.
Yeah. That's a level that scares me. Anyway, what were you going to say about this?
That just made me think of when I was doing tiling for a short amount of time. It did not last
tiled?
long.
That scares the shit out of me.
It was hard work. Mm-hmm. I was so sore after it. There was this guy, Mukhta was his name. He was an old hockey player that he needed some help, and I was helping him when I lived in Arizona. And it was like 3-4 days. But by the end of the 3-4 days, my body was so sore. I'm just like, the knees, like doing that kind of work. Like, that was not what I was made for.
I've never done tile. I'm very afraid of tile because that's like, you screw it up and you got to rip it out, Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. You don't get to fool around with that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, so the question here is, both for myself and from what you were bringing, was, are there any ways that we're trying to prove that we're human to ourselves? What are the ways we do that?
Guilty.
Like there's ways when I'm out in public that there's still a part of me that feels like I feel so different than all the people I'm encountering. And on the one side, a part of me has felt for so long that there was shame associated with that and or self-judgment around it. And the more I heal and just have room to feel what I am, like there's less of that, and it's more of just experiencing the contrast. But there's still like, oh, I would like to do this X, Y, and Z, and then I'd feel more quote human, Yeah. And so like even yesterday when I went to the OSF Green show, there's a performance, and like I think that was a big thing for me, of being a musician that actually performed on stage, and like that was a way to be human that could be somehow fit for me.
You must be a
where
person.
I would be interacting. Yeah, you're a person to perform in this way and engage with the audience, and but it was too many moving parts for me. It was always really, really difficult to perform in front of people because I didn't know, was I connecting with them in the audience and being a person and playing music at the same time, and like to do it was really challenging in some of the open mics and the band performances that I did. It was easier when I was in a choir and it was like a group sound that you're doing, right. But individually, like in a rock band, it was much harder for me, especially doing guitar and singing at the same time. When I was just the front lead singer of a band, it was a little bit easier, but that was one way that I was trying to be a person.
I can completely relate, and I'm sure I have more layers of that, because it's like, I mean, that's what enheartment is, right? It's the embodiment of your soul as a person, and there's, like, you could say all of identity is about just arriving at being an ensouled human, and so I wouldn't say I feel like a person yet. It's more like I've been departing more and more false ways of being a person. And what does it mean to be like a person? And I can completely relate playing music with other people around. I have a difficult time playing music with other people because when they play something good, my listening goes into them. And I was like, ooh, that was good. And then I forget what I was doing. I can't hold both yet. Mm-hmm. And if there's people listening too, then I'm tuned into, there's too many consciousnesses in the room and I don't know where to be. The same way if I'm in a loud restaurant, I have a hard time focusing on the person in front of me, because the allness in me starts listening to every conversation in the room. And I have to, sometimes I'll create like an energetic bubble around the table to try to focus. That can help enough to be able to stay focused.
Yeah, restaurants with like hardwood floors, especially. So then the sound is just.
Yeah. There's a sushi place I go to fairly often here, and with a friend, and we always go at like 4:45 because by 5:30 or 6, it's way too loud.
Also makes me feel like we're really old when we go to restaurants at like 3:30, 4.
Oh my God.
Instead of the 7 to 9 range kind of thing. But I'm all for it for a quieter restaurant.
Yeah. Well, we're old people. I mean, you can tell by the movies they remake, and they're remaking things like Total Recall. And have they remade RoboCop?
They did.
They did, didn't they?
Yes, they did. It had some new spins to it. I haven't watched it yet, but yeah, they did.
And like the remastered, like it's the 40th anniversary of this album you grew up with.
And they're coming out with Running Man again. With Glenn Howell, I think, is in it instead of Arnold Schwarzenegger. So that's another one that's coming out.
I bet you Arnold wanted to do it again.
Right, wouldn't that have been funny? Running Man older though, right? Like everyone's older.
Right. Richard Dawson is dead. But what was that Schwarzenegger film it was one of the Terminator films, like the last one where they reshot when Schwarzenegger first time travels back, he shows up nude, and they reshot that scene for the new movie, and he wanted to do it himself without a body double, and he trained to be able, when he was whatever, I don't know, late 40s, mid 50s at that time, and he trained to be able to look like he did in the first Terminator movie. I love that. What a thrill, right?
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I still recommend his documentary. That was fascinating to watch, the 3 stages of his life focus of working out, and then being an actor, and also being a governor, politics.
Oh, I didn't know about that.
And weightlifting. And then it goes back into his childhood, what happened, his growing up years, all that. It was really intriguing. Biopic, is that what it's called? Documentary.
Okay, I'll look for that. I thought you meant Pumping Iron at first, the old documentary.
No. This was on Netflix in the last probably 4 years. Yeah, it's pretty recent.
And you haven't seen Pumping Iron, the original documentary? That's something.
I don't think so. No.
God, there's a scene in there where he is right before the Mr. Universe competition, I think, where he'd won it already twice, and he has breakfast with Lou Ferrigno, who he's going to compete with. I
saw a shot of them together.
Yeah. And Schwarzenegger is such a passive aggressive dominator. He's like, "How are you doing? You look tired. Are you tired?" Like, and Lou Ferrigno, the poor guy, his dad is his trainer. He's got so much unworth. Lou Ferrigno is clearly a wee spacer, and Schwarzenegger is just dominating with his overconfidence. He's like, "What's that like? I've won this twice. What's that like? You competing with me? Like, that must be brutal or something." It's just so awful.
Just thinking of Lou Ferrigno as a wee spacer, though, it makes me think of why his big claim to fame was the Hulk show, right?
Yeah.
Like, where he was actually the affect of someone else. He was right. Like, he didn't even have his own main character.
No, right? And like he has no lines. And he's like 30 seconds in the entire episode of just like him doing the same thing, lifting up a car and throwing someone 20 feet.
I was so intrigued by that show and scared at the same time.
Yeah, me too.
Like, for me as a 9 with my own repressed rage, like it was such a good interplay of seeing the two sides of the character, and over time feeling what's my relationship to that, and the fear around it and all that. It was a crazy show.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, scared and drawn to it for sure. Yeah,
and then there was this melancholic kind of do 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 do.
That's a George Winston tune. Yeah, I love that song. It was so to me it was about, that show was about depression and rage.
Depression, and rage, yeah.
Because he, at the end of every episode, that George Winston song, who's an amazing composer, and I believe he plays that too, the piano. that song would come on and he's walking to
like
another town
yes,
to start
the aloneness.
over.
Yes,
So heartbreaking.
Yep.
Because his unhealed rage means he can't connect with anyone for very long.
Yeah.
Aw.
Well, but now the current version today show that kind of mirrors that is Reacher. But Reacher is actually really intelligent, and he's a lone wolf, but he groups up with these people, but he keeps on reconvening in different locations, but he is the loner. But he's just as big. I mean, he's just as big. And
the new Reacher, I like I like the Tom Cruise style.
You like the Tom Cruise
guy. Not this big guy. Yeah. And he is a cause. It's not rage based. He's more like a one. He's trying to do justice, not just
principle.
Principle.
Yeah.
He's not just getting angry at people. Please don't make me angry. You wouldn't like me when I'm angry. What's that guy named? Bill Bixby.
Bill Bixby.
That was the actor in the old Hulk. Late 70s, early 80s.
Right.
The shows that shaped our childhood, that shows how old we are.
That keep on coming back.
Yes.
In the big screen and on TV shows too.
Yeah. That was the same time as Wonder Woman, which is a rabbit hole as well. But anyway, we were supposed to be talking about Third Eye. Now, not how old we are in our 80s childhoods. One thing I wanted to say about Third Eye that I see a lot, and I don't know if Stace and I have talked about this, I can't remember, but I notice a lot of people have fear of their emergence of their third eye gifts, especially the discarnate spirits thing. And I've helped about probably a dozen people, and not usually facilitants. I've had a number of experiences just running into people at parties. I've had a few experiences on the beach where the subject comes up, and people have these really strong anxiety reactions about, quote, ghosts, discarnate spirits, and that anxiety almost always comes from being able to sense those beings as children and being alone with it. And then there's this projection that shows up that as if these ghosts can somehow hurt us, and they really can't for the most part. There are some exceptions to that with parasites, but 99% of the time they can't do anything. And the fear people have that, if they see them, then bad things will happen, is a projection from the bad feeling we felt when we were alone with the experience as children.
Yeah, that's well said. I'm reminded of when I used to hear the stories from Stace about how he would go into people's houses that were, quote, haunted, and he would engage with the spirits. In the beginning, they would be, show themselves as really scary, but once they got engaged with more, they could reveal the deeper hurts and fears that were inside of them. He would help them transition more. Yeah. And I had a direct experience with that just in this last year with the woman that I was dating in Germany, that was very gifted with her psychic abilities, and this being, I think I might have told you off air at some point, showed up in the house that we were in, and we could feel there was something in the space, and then actually the flower vase knocked over. Oh, wow. So it actually was able to contact and move something in the space to get attention, because this spirit. It's rare, yeah, but this spirit knew that she had the capacity she did and needed some help around something consciously. So we said we'd talk the next day, and then the next day we actually engaged with the spirit and helped it process something it'd been living with for a really long time. Like sometimes spirits will be wandering around for many, many, many years, and this being was around since the 40s when the war was happening, and his wife had been really, really sick, and but her body constitution wouldn't let her die. It was so strong of a constitution. So then the spirit was, she asked him to kill her, and he really loved her. He didn't want her to die, but at the same time he could see that she was in suffering. So he eventually chose to kill her to out of her request, and then he felt all this guilt about it. And so when he finally transitioned, he couldn't actually transition all the way to the other side because of all this guilt.
Yeah.
So then we just talked with him and helped him feel through his own integrity and his love, and through that compassion, he could digest the experience more, and he was able to make the transition then within a couple of days after our conversation. And then right before he left, he flicked a little party favor that was hanging on the wall because there was a recent birthday party in the house. He flicked it and it moved. There was no wind.
Wow.
It moved as a way to say goodbye to us, and
sweet.
really sweet exchange. Now, I couldn't see him, but I could feel his presence and almost hear his words come into me. But it was in a feeling way, whereas for her, it was very visually. It was as clear as day for her.
Mm-hmm.
So again,
She's
we're very
clairvoyant.
different. Yeah, we have very different orientations. Clairsentience versus the
Clairvoyance versus clairsentience. Yeah, and it didn't occur to me before this moment, but I think that's also part of what makes it scary for people, because the majority of people are clairsentient. They feel it, and what fiction in our world portrays it as is, if you can see ghosts, you'll see ghosts. There are no movies where it's like where people feel it, because that doesn't make good cinema, right?
Except for when they're scared shitless in a horror film and they know they're going to be killed. Like, you're feeling it then, but it's a different kind of feeling.
Yeah, but that's not feeling the presence of a spirit, right? It's like the clairvoyance is what gets presented as third eye, and that's unusual. It seems like 10% or less. So most people's third eye, when it's related to discarnate spirits, aka ghosts, they have a feeling about it, but they can't see it, and that's scary.
Mm-hmm.
Understandably, because you don't know what you're feeling.
Mm. And I mean, I've had both. As a child, I did see things, and then at a certain point that shut off, and then it moved more into the feeling things.
Right.
And now I see the blueprints, but it's that's more of like when I'm laying down at night and I'm really open to life. I'll see more of it in that way now, whereas it tends to be more feelings. My ex-wife also had lots of experiences as a child, seeing all sorts of spirits, but has no access to any of that now. So I think it really depends on how much that's encouraged. I mean, I've had clients where the parents actually really encourage or support the awareness of all that and what they're experiencing, versus denying and just making, hey, you're making up things, or it's your imagination.
Yeah, the imaginary friend thing. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and we didn't talk about that. Imaginary friends often are discarnate spirits, which get...
Or guides, yeah.
Or guides, yeah. Right. Because everybody has guides of, 3 to 5 usually that are there the whole time. Sorry. Chair up here. There was something else I was going to say about that. I can't remember now. Just completely went blank. Blankety blank blank. But speaking of which, I don't think we said on air, back to the beginning, that Miss Piggy is an 8. I think that's important to note.
I think that's, well, clearly. And so you got an 8 with a 6 with Kermit in a relationship, right? So she could kind of bully him around, but he could pine for her and be friendly with her, but also afraid of her.
Yeah, no, I didn't even think of that. That may be the most codependent relationship on Sesame Street. That Miss Piggy is a me 8 and Kermit is like a we 6. And she really juices off of his loyalty.
The loyalty, yeah.
Because he won't leave her, and she's really entitled, and she wants young boundaries.
Really, yeah. Kermit's never going to give those, though.
And he's never going to be, not until he gets to eye space. No, he won't give it. He's too identified with being the soft, sweet guy. And it makes him a great leader. When we spacer leads, they're really create a cohesiveness. I'm a big fan of the band Fish, and I've become fascinated by Trey Anastasio, who's my guitar hero. And I'm pretty sure he's a wee Orion 7. Which
sounds right.
Yeah, he has this musical brilliance. He's incredibly prolific. But when I've seen interviews and hear how he relates to a leader, like I saw an interview with one of the musicians in Trey Anastasio band, his other band besides Fish, and someone was saying like, we have this joke like, you don't, if you play another instrument, because there's a lot of different instruments in that band. There's a brass section and stuff, and people will say, "Oh, don't let Trey find out you play the tuba in addition to the saxophone, or else he's going to want to use it." So he's just got this super inclusive, like, "Oh, you play the tuba? Okay, I'm going to write a song around that, and like, let's do it." And so he's an incredible wee spacer leader in that way, in that he's just got this contagious excitement and wants to include everyone, and you can see how good he is at disappearing. And making room for other people, which is really very, perfect for the genre of improvisational music. The way he does, it's super cool. But how did I get onto that? Miss Piggy, me 8.
Miss Piggy. Can you just think of Miss Piggy opening up more of her yin dimension of her being? What would that be like?
Oh my God, yes. Well, who's her facilitator? Like Mr. Hooper? He died a long time ago.
Right. The names of the people on the show.
I think if anyone would be the facilitator, it would be Big Bird. I could see Big Bird as a therapist, as a facilitator of some kind, patient kind.
I'm into for Big Bird sessions. Yeah,
but Big Bird's not afraid to have a strong opinion.
The hard talks. Yeah.
Yeah, Big Bird I think is most qualified. We send him to IFS school. Is Big Bird male or female, or is it just like a non-binary?
I think
bird?
I think Big Bird's male.
Yeah.
I think so.
That was always dubious.
Just makes me think about our conversation here about Third Eye, and if there was a children's show like Reading Rainbow or Sesame Street, where more of these capacities were talked about freely and normalized, for kids, kind of like how there was a little wave of that around this, like after the Matrix and the Spoonbenders course and the Indigo children, like there was a wave for a time that was like, hey, there's these special kids that are coming out more, and they need different kinds of awarenesses for parents to really meet with them, not just because they're autistic, but because they have these other capacities that they need guidance around.
I'm just imagining if we would redo Sesame Street with psychodynamics into it and be like, and now, like, let's Big Bird's going to be facilitating, helping Kermit and Piggy and Miss Piggy sort out some of their codependent issues.
Well, you always boss me around,
Well, that's because you're not giving me what I need.
You never give me enough attention.
Oh, God. Great Kermit impression. Yeah, I mean, that parents would be outraged, right? Because then the kids would start asking their parents, like, "Mommy, how are you and Daddy codependent?"
Yeah.
I learned on Sesame Street that all relationships are codependent.
It'd be like taking the couples therapy show on CBS with Dr. Orna. I don't know if you've ever seen any of those, where she's meeting with all these couples and bridging it into Sesame Street. It'd be a whole phenomenon. I think it could work really well, because it could be good with parents, just like some of the Pixar films, like Inside Out. Adults can watch it and kids can watch it. It could be one of those things.
My guess would be that kids would be far more able to digest that than people would give them credit for. Because kids feel that kind of stuff. They're feeling codependent dynamics. They feel offnesses, and they don't know what it is. They don't have a vocabulary for it. But I remember that my mother would get really upset sometimes, and my father was hugely emotionally unavailable. But when he would finally come around to like comforting her, I can feel it right now. There was something so icky about it. Because it was codependent. It wasn't clean. He was being the daddy that part of her wanted, and he wouldn't do it and wouldn't do it and wouldn't do it. And that's why she was getting so upset. I mean, there was surely a healthy need in there too. And then he would finally do it. And I can still see memories and feel like the embrace and the way he was talking to her, and I would just feel like, oh, this is disgusting.
Lose respect for both of them.
Yeah.
Really. And that he collapsed into the thing. Yeah.
Yeah. And because she brought those same childlike needs to me. And so I didn't have a frame or an understanding for what was going on. I just knew it felt gross. So,
and he wasn't showing that it was okay to say no to it either.
Yeah, he didn't say no. He wasn't showing up as a man, healthy man in that way. He was, resisting it in one way and then pandering to it another. So I think we may have a concept here. If only we had, $20 million to produce a season of these shows. So many things we could do.
When funding is drying up for PBS and all that at the moment, maybe it has to come from the private sector. Yeah.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I don't know how that would go. Like, here's our pitch. We want to bring,
emotional maturity,
hyper advanced, maturity technology and consciousness to children in ways that would surely threaten their family systems. Can we have $1 million to produce that?
Today, we're going to talk about values, boys and girls.
Oh, God, yeah. What they can't even do in public school.
There was an episode with Elmo and the guy that played Superman and Spider-Man, one of the movies.
Tobey Maguire?
No, not Toby, and not Tom Holland. Tim Holland. I forget his name. It's I think the middle Spider-Man.
The middle one. The first Spider-Man movie was Tobey Maguire, I'm sure.
For many, it wasn't him. It's another guy, and I think his mom had died. And so they were on there talking about grief, and I thought that I watched the clip of it, and they had handled that really well about, making more room for the sadness and feeling the validity of it, and
on Sesame Street.
On Sesame Street, yeah, with Elmo, it was well done. They did some good segments on feelings, But,
yeah, and that was a big theme for Mr. Rogers. He was very pro feelings.
Yeah.
That was his main thing. He was. I think he had a past life as like a Tibetan Lama or something. He was
totally brought so much like loving compassion into his experiences with the kids. I mean, I've seen several documentaries on him and just wow, and so many shows I saw as a kid. But just what a human being.
Yeah, amazing guy. And now there's always this lingering question of how healthy was that for him.
Right. Well, if you watch the 9 Perfect Strangers on Hulu, in the second season, there's a guy that is kind of like him that does puppetry with kids as a show, but then he flips out at a certain point and then his life completely unravels and he comes to this retreat where they do psychedelics and stuff with all of that baggage and his relationship with his puppet, like it's fascinating, but it gives a little insight of who knows what was underneath that,
Yeah, Mr. Rogers, it's a good example of an and. I mean, he did amazing work that served so many people and was an enormous advocate for the rights of children and the feelings of children.
Yeah.
And was it a med for his own unoutworked, his own childhood stuff? Because his puppets were sub-personas of himself.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even realize he did those characters until I saw the documentary. I was like, oh, those voices were all him.
Yeah.
And that
the
was
little kitty and the
tiger or whatever. Daniel.
Yeah, right.
I mean, these were his sub-personas that he was working out. And because he couldn't directly let himself feel any of that. So it must have been
he was a 1 with a 2 wing, I think, or a 2 with 1, right? Because all those principles, but all the care.
Yeah, I think he would be more emotionally effusive if he were a 2. So I like 1 with 2, and maybe a wee spacer 1, right? To soften those edges.
Yeah.
So yeah, he not maybe his A destiny, but certainly a solid B+. He did some really wonderful work
and so much contribution to the zeitgeist at the time and emotional literacy and relationality in upping the levels there for how we are with each other and ourselves.
I don't remember ever liking the show as a kid, but I watched it because nothing else was on.
remember the show. I don't remember what feelings. I think I had warmth about it. The having a male figure that was kind and warm and interested and curious in kids' lives. Like I could really feel, and later watching these documentaries too, how much he really, really cared about the kids.
Yeah.
And was so genuine with them in so many instances. Meeting them in their world, I'd say, compared to most adults.
And speaking of meeting people in their world, that goes back to that third eye thing. It's just like to consider for our largely angel soul population listeners, if your parents didn't meet you in your third eye world, which usually gets chalked up to imagination for children, then that's going to be the
crazy.
Or crazy at best, imagination at worst, you're crazy imagining things. Then that's going to be the degree to which you repress your third eye gifts. And if the degree to which your third eye gifts are there and big is going to be, that's a whole separate kind of soul wound, where you are going to, back to what we said before, maybe not feel like a person because that big chunk of you doesn't fit into humanity.
Yeah, there's no place for that to breathe in your life. And then the next question is, what are the medications that help your protector keep that at bay from being online? Because if that's part of who you really are, then like, well, you got to do some somersaults and turn yourself into pretzel to not actually have it online. And that takes something to hold that in place.
Yeah, well said. That's like what I said before about that codependent relationship that after it ended and it no longer was grounding me, it started to really change who I was. And now intuition, it's not just part of my life. Intuition is, it's
the basis of your life.
It significantly is my life. Like these days I was just writing about this the other day. What I choose to do comes from it's like an interplay of what the moment calls for, what my intuition says to do, and then in last place, what my mind would like to do. And I used to be a very organized, willful person who could make a list and then do the things on my list. Now my mind makes a list of things and my intuition's like, no. And then something will pop up, often like what's right in front of me. It's like, oh, I can do that. So it's like, the willfulness, it just hit me yesterday because I've been solo functioning for a while. I thought what I was dealing with was largely a personhood grief thing, but it didn't occur to me until yesterday that the last 6 weeks or so has been a sainthood thing. Because typically I've experienced sainthood movement with feeling a lot better, and this has not felt good. And it's been extremely difficult, but I realized that it's been willful body ensoulment because my personal will is at an all-time low and I can't do what I want to do anymore. I can't choose what to do. It's like if I'm working in a day and I sort of quote have to do those things, but if I use my will, if I use personal will to try to do something, either I can't do it or I get exhausted by it. And all the other times it's like I can only seem to do what moves me to do. And it's quite out of control. And my trust is that at a certain point there'll be enough willful body ensoulment such that everything doesn't feel like a grind, because right now my personal will is still significantly at odds and wants to do what it wants to do, and it's just not working. So that's failing. I assume that will be replaced by something where I could become a functional human being again. But right now, I sometimes at the end of the day, it'd be like 6 p.m. like, okay, what did I do today? And it's a tenth, maybe less of what I used to get done in a day. Huh. So that's an aspect of sainthood as well, that it's like intuition starts out in shallow waters, but the further you go with intuition, it's like especially for myself as a Raphaelite, because our essence is intuition, the embodiment of that is doing what is divinely guided. And that's not to say like divine guidance, like, you know, I'm getting like revelations. It's as simple as like, what am I supposed to be doing right now? Is it time to eat? I'm hungry, but I don't know what to eat. Okay, well, so should I do this thing? No. What about that thing? Oh, I can do that. That's what my moment to moment experience is. It's like there's a constant negotiation with, okay, what do I do next? Because I can't decide anymore. There's all of these factors. It's really weird and not enjoyable. It's quite confusing.
I think that's been my orientation for a really long time.
Oh yeah.
Like, because it's like, what's today? And then I'll feel, oh, there's this, and this, but it's not like mentally I'm trying to do it. And then the times where it won't work is like with running one of my companies right now. There's so many things that are out of my control with that, which starts to really wear me down, because it's not my, I don't seem to, I'll complete all the tasks that are required of me to respond to, but it's not doesn't feel like it's rising from behind me to tend to at a certain point. Sometimes it gets so much with other people's issues that are going on that I don't really have any control over. Yeah. But I'm able to respond and attend to the different tasks, and I'm much more like competent than I ever was in my earlier life.
That's cool.
To be able to manage all the things that I'm managing now. But it's not the same kind of control mechanisms in place around trying to manage it. It's changed. So, and then especially when I'm not working and I have my weekend time where there's the freedom to see what shows up. It's really just what's now, and then following what's now. That's pretty easy for me. Whereas it's harder to have the resilience. Like, I think that's one of the opportunities of running my one business, is that it's helped me find out what resilience is even though I might not be feeling it in the now, still having to find the way to complete, even if it's really, really difficult or draining or challenging.
When you say resilience, like the ability to get something done? To
follow through all the way. Yeah. Versus just like, or sometimes even having to find my reserves. Okay, I just got to complete this. Like that's been actually good for me to see. Okay, I'm able to do that, and then for some reason I felt a judgment I had as a child. I don't know why this was with my dad. I think he had really unreasonable expectations on us as kids to be able to do things that we weren't yet at our level to do as a child. So there was an internalization that I was always lazy.
But I had that too.
Yeah. It's so like part of that my days can be so full and managed where every minute can be attending to something. Can be very focused, but I think it's been also working through that self-image that I have to be productive. I have to be, you have to work hard for some kind of value or approval or something like that over these last 17 years running that company. That's been one of the learnings as well. That it's my essence has no relationship to my value, and worth has no relationship to that.
Yeah, right. I was just going to bring up the worth thing, because it's like there's a subtle existential, I think, that everybody has, but especially in the United States as a free country, that like your existential worth comes from what you can do. Yeah. Boy, I've been in a DMed from that for the last 3 years.
You really have. Yeah.
It keeps going. Yeah. It just keeps, I keep getting to new levels of, I can't believe somehow my life is still functioning with how little I'm able to do. Cause it's like, every day there's like I can do that later. And then there's another voice that's like, you've been saying that for a year. Like, how is it I'm getting away with putting so much stuff off? But somehow I am. And I'm starting to actually enjoy it. Yeah, it is magic. It has been magical, and that it's still working tells me that life is supporting this achievement demed of like, look, everything is fine. You can do 10% of what you used to do, and look around, everything's fine. Your world hasn't collapsed. And some part of me is like, I don't know how that's working.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing how it hasn't collapsed with all that been going on for so long.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think one of the other upsides for me with this whole work exploration is that if there's a time where my business actually does sell and I have a lot more space, I don't have the pressure that I have to do something now. Whereas in the past, there was something I had to prove to myself,
Yeah.
And now like I could have the downtime, but I also have like in the human design, I have a split definition generator. So I've got energy that wants to, be utilized. So I would still probably be looking for engaging in projects or things to utilize how much energy I have to attend to things. It just would be in a different way. It would express in a different way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I don't know if we quite tied it up in a bow, but back to the intuition, which is supposed to be our main thread, and we're intuitively navigating that, and Sesame Street personality types, which is the other key component of today's conversation. Infotainment, right? It's a great example of similar to like flow state, and Stacey and I talked about that recently, how people look at intuition as like, ooh boy, I'd like to have some of that intuition so I can use it. And intuition is 6th chakra. That's an innie. It comes to you. So the protector is going to want to use intuitive gifts on its terms. And that's not how it works, because it's the domain of sainthood. And that's the domain of you losing your personal will and taking on divine will. As represented by your own soul's will, which often doesn't feel like your will because of the 70-30 rule. So the embodiment of soul sometimes can feel to a protector as like an invasion of some other alien thing, because that's how different you as soul can be from who you think you are. And intuition is one of the doors in which that can happen, where it's like you may want to know when your money situation is going to improve, or when you're going to meet a mate, or these kinds of intuitive things. But instead, you're walking through the grocery store and getting information that the person in front of you was sexually abused, and you don't want to know that. Well, too bad. Like, you don't get to decide what comes into you. And that can be very threatening for protectors. And a lot of times, interestingly, when people I've seen this one a fair amount, where people will be disturbed by the information they get via intuition, they think the solution is to get better with boundaries, have psychic boundaries, for example. And I think in identity, we would say psychic boundaries are not the answer. It's like the metaphor of if a window is just cracked open, then the wind going through goes at a high velocity and shuffles the papers around, flies the papers around. The solution is not to shut the window. The solution is to open it all the way and find the you that doesn't have a problem with what information is coming in, because the you that wants to shut it and create better boundaries, that's the protector. We don't use the term psychic boundaries in identity. No, we don't use them. It's like, well, who needs those boundaries? And why? Because you don't like the information. You mean it's a trigger? You want to keep out certain information because it's triggering you, instead of unpacking what the trigger is and finding the you that wouldn't be triggered. So you hear that in, sainthoody, new agey worlds. They'll talk about psychic boundaries and that kind of stuff. We don't look at it that way, because they're trying to improve a protector. Right. Yeah. And so like my version of that is, since it's as a Michaelite, there's such a gestaltic taking in the whole reality of the person. When I'm out in public or walking in the park and people come up, there's been a dance between the part of me that just doesn't want to look and exchange with people, because so much can come into my being about who they are. And then it's not only feeling that, but actually how to relate and respond to them in that moment based on what I'm feeling from them, or maybe if they do or don't want to connect to. So it's the boundaries are
connected to what relationality is, with opening up those gifts, and if other people aren't operating with those gifts, how to still engage in a way that's, I don't know, appropriate, fitting, real, honest, sincere, and
It's confusing.
self-connected,
Yeah. Yeah, that's a lot. And so what you're saying, I love what you said there, like that's navigating the relating rather than putting up boundaries so you don't take in their stuff. It's like you're saying you take in the stuff and then you sort it out.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a challenge
because
sometimes.
I was noticing, like, just while I'm riding the bike the other day, there's some people, when I'm riding bike, I can feel their being is open to the exchange of a smile or a hello or a some kind of back and forth, and there's other people I can feel they're not at all, and they're just in a bubble, right? So just in a passing moment like that, or a person is open to a glance, but in the glance there's so much pain that they're revealing in the glance, and registering that pain, and like, oh, if I really let them see how it is for all their pain to land in me, what facial expression I give to them, like that's part of the navigating too, because it's so much is there in a moment if you're really open to feel and see what's there, regardless if the person's aware of it or not.
Yeah. So I wouldn't say that it's like boundaries are not part of identity at all. I would just say we sort of see them as a last resort. Like before you set boundaries about like that this is not okay, or I'm putting myself in this bubble for whatever reason, we would have the question like, well, why do you need those boundaries? What does that serve?
Is there terror associated with it being
so that
too
it's
much or invasive?
So that it's not victimhood, right? Like I think there's such a thing as reasonable boundaries. Like if I'm in a romantic partnership and the person is physically violent, like, no, that's not okay. And but there are other kinds of boundaries where we would just, as we do with everything, question, are you wanting to put that boundary up in order to not feel something? And what is that? Before it goes to a willful kind of boundary. But as we say, not every moment calls for starting with love necessarily. Sometimes there's a reasonableness to wanting to protect yourself, but we just question why that is. So it's not the default automatic thing.
Yeah, definitely. Which tends to be the norm.
Yeah. Well, unless there are any other Sesame Street characters we haven't yet covered.
I think we kind of merged the Muppets and Sesame Street. We merged them into two worlds.
I see them all as, because it's all Jim Henson Muppets, right? But that's true.
Yeah.
Because Gonzo's not on Sesame Street, although I think he had some special appearances, if I remember right.
Yeah, maybe.
Gonzo was my favorite character, I think, because he's Raphaelite-ish. It was like, well, what is he? Nobody knows what he is. He doesn't belong.
Totally. Yeah.
He is relational, but it's like he doesn't ever find a home anywhere. There's the song that he sings in the, oh my God, look this up. This is, I had a whole process about this during the end of 1.0 with a part because I remember seeing the Muppet movie a couple times, once at a drive-in theater.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, the original Muppet movie. There's a scene where I think their bus breaks down and they're stranded in the desert, and Gonzo sings this song that the chorus, I think the name of it is I'm going to go back there someday. And the lyrics are just incredible, and you can easily make it work that he's singing about the angel kingdom. Going to get back there someday, something like that. And he sings this plaintive, sorrowful, grieving song about like there's no home here, and like wanting to abide with love. It's so angel soul kingdom ish. And that became a process for me later on, where I was listening to that song again and again and just weeping with the disparateness of this realm versus the angel soul realm.
Yeah, well, if you think of it, send me the link. And for listeners out there, is there a song that speaks to the part you're working with right now, whether it's your protector or a younger part? If you haven't done that before, it can be really, really supportive of their world fleshing out even more, because there's usually so much feeling in music. So it's a great entree for another reflection on what you can do for connecting more with the different parts of you.
Great invitation. I'm gonna read the lyrics of this song because it's not that long and it's worth it. So I'm going to go back there someday. This is the Gonzo song from the original Muppet movie. This looks familiar, vaguely familiar, almost unreal yet. It's too soon to feel yet. Close to my soul and yet so far away. I'm going to go back there someday. Sunrises.
This is a Muppet character.
I know.
Like,
and it's sunrises, night falls. Sometimes the sky calls. Is that a song there? And do I belong there?
Oh, wow. God.
I've never been there, but I know the way. I'm going to go back there someday. And then this is the bridge. Come and go with me. It's more fun to share. We'll both be completely at home in midair. We're flying, not walking on featherless wings. We can hold on to love like invisible strings. It's bringing tears to my eyes.
New place for Gonzo in my heart.
There's not, and then it goes back, that's the bridge, then it goes back to another verse. There's not a word yet for old friends who've just met. Part heaven, part space, or have I found my place? You can just visit, but I plan to stay. I'm going to go back there someday. Isn't that
so
heartbreaking?
Beautiful. Like, wow.
And
that this was a Muppet. I mean, this is the thing of how Muppets can express parts that maybe don't always come through with the personal directly.
Yeah, and I don't know, whoever wrote this, Jim Henson must have had something to do with it, but it's like, I'd have to look at his picture, but it's like, whoever wrote this is an angel soul. We're featherless wings, we can hold on to love like invisible strings, and there's not a word yet for old friends who've just met. We call that soul family. And it's so Raphaelite to me, especially this. You can make it work for a Michaelite too, I guess, but it's a porous angel soul who's like, what is this place? I have a sense of home and I want it here, but I can't really experience that here. But I also can.
For some reason, that brought two things into my awareness. One was Grover and how he does his Super Grover. So there's Grover, right? There's Grover. And then that linked to, there was a TV show called Greatest American Hero.
Oh, one of my absolute favorites.
Believe it or not, I'm walking on air. I would swing as like, I don't know, a 5-6-year-old. I'd be in the swings and I would sing that song as if I was flying.
Yeah,
and
sure.
That dorky and also superpowers all mixed into one character. Like that was
classic angel soul, right? I love that show. It was like that he didn't have the instructions for how to use the suit was like an existential angst for me. That's I have powers, I don't know how to express them, they're unsupported, I am a clumsy human. We never talked about this before. I had the same interpretation of that show.
Cool. Yeah. Somehow that linked with Super Grover and Grover.
Oh, right. I forgot Super Grover. Yeah, right.
I
forgot that. Now I think Grover was a 4. Me 4.
Yeah, maybe.
Expressed, confident, but unconfident.
And something really endearing about him.
Yeah. I forgot about the Super Grover thing, that he was the sort of greatest American hero, the clumsy superhero archetype.
Clumsy super, yeah.
Beautiful. All right, shall we close here?
It's lovely. Yeah. Well, it's nice. I really enjoyed this, and I hope our listeners did too.
Well, I hope so too. I think they did. I mean, just I think if the only thing you got was a codependency analysis of Miss Piggy and Kermit, then I think that was definitely worth your hour and a half.
Well, I don't know if I ever told you or revealed this, but like in childhood for me, because I felt so on one level completely invisible to my parents and the family dynamic. I had these stuffed animals, and they were the closest thing to me. Like they were so sacred to me, and I would have conversations with them. They would sleep with me at night, well into, I don't know, 7, 8, 9 years old, something like that. And then at one point, my dad took them all away completely, like just they were all gone, and it was
that's abusive.
heartbreaking. It was so heartbreaking. But they were my quote imaginary friends that I had connection still to the other side through, where there was some sense of closeness, connection, and care, and someone that was really interested in my world in the way that felt real. But it was often in my room, quiet, with them. It was so all the talks of the Muppets, like a part of me really connected to that. Muppets or stuffed animals really could have life to them.
Yeah, well, and I think kids will project they'll take a real discarnate spirit and then use the stuffed animal as a stand-in for it. So
exactly,
as a way to ground it in reality, which I imagine you were doing, at least to some degree.
Yeah, they all had names, personalities. Yep.
Oh, parents, we know you're doing your best, but be curious about how you're not.
Yeah, just think, girls do this with dolls too, and then kids have their toys. There's ways of imagination, but also creativity and connection with more of who they are.
Yeah, like I think I've mentioned it before on the podcast. I had this little pink plastic gumball machine ring that I used to talk to God through. And
right, I remember
that was
you
my
saying
little
that.
God talisman thing. I wore it until it didn't fit, and then broke it, and so it would kind of fit. Wish I still had that.
We were all kids once.
I know, it's true. Well, thank you, listeners. Thank you, Eric. Thanks for joining me on this Sunday morning. And until next time. Thanks for listening.
Until next time. Bye, everybody.
Bye for now.
Thanks for listening to the Heart of Soul podcast. To learn more about me, Joseph Shapiro, visit clearandopen.com. To learn more about Eric Grace, you can go to Eric, that's with a C, -grace.com. Until next time, we wish you well on your journey.